So my question to you is, there is a certain sense of discomfort when we are negotiating the unknown, because the known is always uh, fixed. It can be comprehended easily. There is no risk involved. There is this sense of comfort, joy, the joy of comfort itself. One is not risking anything at all. So one is getting ready-made knowledge, so to speak. So what is this mindset that one can get into when researching life? Actually, I don't want to call it a scientific subject sheerly, because what is understood by science is that as if science is a separate subject from life. But even if one were to simply see the Jungle Book, that guy loves to explore and looks at life from a very scientific angle. And so do all animals. I guess their science is limited compared to us, but they have a certain science about how they go around saving themselves, adapting to things. There is always that survival instinct that is very scientific in its scope. So how does one reconcile with the fact that it's okay to be among the unknown, in your view?
Okay, first I beg to differ that animals don't know much and so on. I give the example of money. We are the only species on this entire planet that lives with money. That thing that if there is no money, we will die.
Yeah.
Every other species is alive and thriving.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah.
So, and then the other example, so I'm going back to neuroplasticity. We are born with so many capabilities, but our system, which is based on fear, unfortunately, at this point in time, completely constricts the development of the capabilities that we have. Okay, and so I will just go back. For example, pigeons, homing pigeons, they know. And the truth is, we are also born with those abilities. But because we don't use them, because we don't have the stimuli for them, we lose it. It's use it or lose it. This is a very, very simple philosophy. Again, in neuroplasticity, there are two fundamental guidelines or observations, I will call them. One is neurons that fire together, wire together. Okay, neurons that fire apart, wire apart. Okay, very, very. I like to break down things into simple stuff. These are just two simple happenings, observations on which all our learning happens. This is not complex. Okay, so in animals also there are certain things that they have. What we have, and that is why biomimicry is so important for me. We think, our ego is so big. We are all megalomaniacs, if I were to call that. It prevents us from learning.
Lovely expression. Lovely expression.
So, like that's why I at present I'm in solitude. I have a 5-acre farm here, and I'm by myself. And people say, ask me, don't you get bored? And I tell them, you have no clue how much fun I'm having, because there's so much to explore if we just let ourselves be. Correct? And you spoke about discomfort, and comfort. So I'll just give a very simple example. You know about the Rubik's Cube.
Sorry, about the
Rubik's Cube.
Rubik Cube, yes.
Yes, right? So Rubik's Cube, what is the goal? There are 6 sides. Each side has the same color. And whatever scrambled when you get that cube, you bring it back to those 6 sides, each with the same color.
Yeah.
That's a certainty. correct?
Yeah.
So the person solving the Rubik's Cube in this world is very comfortable getting from whatever state of the Rubik's Cube you're given to that state. And it has been found that there are trillions of combinations, but there are just about 20 to 30 ways in which, if you apply those moves, you can get it back to that state. Okay. Now, my question. So there is certainty there. There is comfort. You give me this cube in whatever scrambled manner, I will get it there in 10 seconds. Okay, whatever the champ in the world.
Yeah.
Now, correct? Life is not like that. We were not built from the same die. We are all individuals with different capabilities, different talents, correct? Now, this is the challenge I'll give to the champion of the world of solving Rubik's Cube. Correct? I will give you the cube. You scramble it in whatever way you want. Now, to this champion, I will give him that cube which is already solved, with all the 6 sides the same color, correct? Now I'll tell him, start from there, the reverse, and get back to the cube that you scrambled. Get it to that position. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Uncertainty
each one
to
of us,
chaos.
but it's chaos in order. Life,
Yeah.
Nature is all about balance.
Because you are
correct. There is order in the chaos.
Yeah. Ordered chaos.
Yeah. So I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with the Rubik's Cube the way I got it. I'm not going to solve it and bring it to that thing in 10 seconds. No, I will just take it the way it is, understand it, and work with it. You understand what I'm saying?
So my
I'm very
question there,
comfortable.
I have a question there. So what about, are you saying setting goals is not important?
It is important. Okay, so like I said, okay, by failing to plan, we are planning to fail.
Can you
plan.
explain the contradiction in both your statements? On one hand, you are comfortable with the ordered chaos as it is, and
Right.
on the other hand, you have a certain goal, which may not be getting those 6 sides in the place that most people do, but there will be some goal. And
Yes.
How do you view that whole exercise?
So let me explain. For example, my current project right now, I'm trying to create this learning space for 4 to 16-year-olds. And again, I'll give you all the rationale for it as well. Why 4-year-olds? Because input and output, the child should be able to eat on its own and go to the toilet on its own. We don't have staff to do that for them. Okay. So they have to be independent, at least in input and output. And 16, because by the age of 16, we want them to be fully self-sufficient in learning. There is nothing more we need to do at that point. Correct?
Yeah.
Now, this project, this whole concept came to my mind in 2013. And then I shared it with the attendees of the workshop in January 2014. And when I did it, they said, no, you're not just building this environment, we are also coming to live there. So it became learning space plus community. Okay. Today we are in 2022. Granted that we lost 2 years because of COVID. We are yet to start the project. We have bought the land and we are getting there and so on. Okay. And I have to say, I have to respect the members of this community. They have really not made a, sort of chaos. Spoke what is happening and, all these things. They are also understanding that, everything is not in our hands. Right? But at the same time, you see, this project is planned. It is documented. It is shared. I've done road shows for it. I've been doing it since 2016 for 6 years. And this is yet to take off the ground. Okay. I am fully comfortable with it. Okay. And I'll explain why. In project, basically I'm a project manager. Okay. I like to manage, and also the definition of a project. Like I told you, it has to be, we have to break down things into simple. To deliver a product or service. Very, very simple. Temporary endeavor. Like everything that we do, including our life, is temporary. If anything were to be permanent, it would lose its meaning to be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct? Same way, if there were no cures, if there were no unpredictability, correct? If there was no uncertainty, it would lose its meaning. Like there is this play written by G.B. Shaw, George Bernard Shaw, Back to Methuselah, and in that there are two people discussing, and one says, what, if we were to live forever, then I don't have to do anything. Instead of doing what I have to do today, I could do it tomorrow or day after or the next year.
Yeah.
The very fact that I'm not going to live forever gives meaning. The very fact that I don't know what's going to happen gives it meaning. There is a saying in Italian: if there's a river that is flowing and I touch my foot to the river, to the water in the river, take it out and touch my foot to that water again, I'm not touching the same molecules of water.
Yeah.
I can't say, oh, no, I want to touch the same molecules of water. It's not happening. Correct? So trying to say that, no, it has to be predictable and it has to happen exactly the way I predicted, it's not happening. But like I mentioned about your glass of water, the glass, correct, is the one that is holding the whole thing together. So if there was no planning, then there is no glass. It's like saying there's no glass. The water is just flowing all over the place, which means I have to then lick to drink the water, versus if it's in a glass, then I can drink it. There is other things is learning. For learning, one more sort of guidelines of project management: if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Correct? So the uncertainty part, it's there. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but I'm going to measure it. And then from that measurement, I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to grow and I'm going to share it. And then people will know, like for example, this year I grew watermelons. And previously I've grown watermelons, but not at this scale. I put 2,000 seeds. And then from that, I got about 1,400 watermelons that I sold in the market. And they were amazing because they were all organic, right? I didn't put any chemicals, nor did I put any pesticides and so on. And I got a good feedback, but I made some mistakes along the way. But I planned that I am going to plant watermelon and I'm going to do this to the field and all that stuff. How the outcome was going to be was up in the air, correct? I've done several other experiments like peanuts. I planted peanuts and it was a disaster. When we put so much of effort in it and all that stuff, and we got hardly any peanuts from that whole exercise. So I'd planted those peanuts thinking that, I'll get a good harvest. And then once I sell it, I will make some profit. It was a total loss. The watermelon on the other side was still a loss in terms of monetary gains. But in terms of learning, it is immense. We made some mistakes, which we identified. We measured how much does it cost, who will buy it, what is the target. So you're in marketing, all that thing comes up.
Yeah.
And next year, this is the first year I did. Next year when I plan, it is going to be based on this learning, and that expectation is going to be there. This year I planted like this, and then it came up. This is what it is. And based on the expectations, the measurements that I did this year, I'm going to plant it with expectations. But I'm comfortable with variations in the results. So there is expectations and there is results. If so I'll give you another example here. This is real life. There's a pilot. All pilots are supposed to do a pre-flight test. And based on the pre-flight test, they will decide, this is not working and so on. And then they will decide whether it is worth taking that risk and taking off. There was this pilot. He did the pre-flight test and everything came out correct. It has never happened in his entire career that everything came out correct. There was always something that was, that he had to work with and knowingly take off, knowing that this is a risk I'm taking. When everything was correct, he refused to take off. He said, I'm not taking this flight. Because he said, there is something wrong that I'm not been able to identify.
Yeah. This is a wonderful example.
Correct? So perfection is an illusion, but at the same time, doesn't mean that we give up on it. We
I don't
have
know
to.
whether, sorry. Because I work in the communication industry, I have a filmy example for this. There was a movie called Luck by Chance, directed by Javed Akhtar's daughter, Zoya Akhtar. Wonderful movie. And Anurag Kashyap, when he saw it, he said, "There's no mistake in it. I cannot make a movie like this." And I I understood this because I also feel very strongly about the rawness of life. It's very beautiful to hear you talk about science in a way scientific people do. My own instinct is more poetic and more uh, Sufi, more Zen, where I like the fact that what the brain thinks can be overturned and relooked at in new ways and kind of fuels my own creative process. But I like the rawness of it. And when I'm listening to you, I don't find any conflict between what you are saying or what I view in things. It does not matter whether your examples and the way you are expressing yourself is more precise, but you are leaving room uh, for that rawness, for the way of interpretation, for the way of trying things out. Let's see where this goes. Uh, and I find that very liberating. Although I've been asking questions because many times I want people to go through the process of how you and I have been thinking while talking. It's very easy to sit down and vibe with someone and talk things and start assuming that everybody understands this. But the questions are more from the point of view of exploring what mind space is this whole context being set of sorts. It's been a very, very beautiful talk, and I doubt whether I have had so much fun on a talk where I want to immediately stop and see it all over again to find out what I have missed, and so enthralling and enticing to hear about possibilities that are happening in the world. Some days are quite dismal uh, when one looks around at very fixated points of view about everything. And it seems as if exploration has become a bad word or curiosity is not looked up to in the sense as one looked up to when we were younger. I think one explored uh, geography of the area that you stayed in, trying to cycle without half a pedal broken, or trying to fix a chain which you didn't know how to, but you had to return it because the time was over when you had taken it on rent. Lot of things were exploratory. Lot of things were how to not get beaten up by your parents when you know that you've done something that is going to get caught. Even that was fun in its own way. Today, when I speak to my daughter, they get very fixated about that this should not happen, and I keep trying to tell her or other youngsters that it's all right. It's all right. It's okay to be a failure for a while, and it's not really the end of the world. Don't try to be perfect. But today you've given me one more aspect that I need to internalize and think how I want to work with it is why the goal is important or why the container of chaos has to have some meaning for a little while. And of course, you use the brilliant term temporary, which I think is more liberating than any other term that any of us can use. Thank you so much for joining me on this podcast, and it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You're welcome, Bunty. And also, I like to thank you. You made this podcast unpredictable for me. You didn't give me any clues or anything. You just said, this is what it is. I will ask the questions when they come to me, and you answer. So even this podcast in itself was an example of uncertainty.
Yeah, I enjoy the process because in a way, if I prepare for it, then I want to show only my clever side. I do not want to accept the fact that I do not know. So that fear stays. So I have put myself in I've created uh, that manner of speaking where it's like a lot of people are afraid. So I tell them it's a coffee shop conversation. What can go wrong? We're sitting and talking, and it's only on camera. It doesn't really matter. So a lot of people say today is very chaotic. I don't want to speak to you. And I said, Arey, but that is the point. I want you on a chaotic day. On a very sorted day, we have enough gurus in the market who say all the nice things, but we don't relate to them because they have reached somewhere. We are still struggling. So I would rather have struggling people on the podcast, people thinking aloud like you did on so many things. You came up with examples. It's all on the spot. So yeah, that's what it is. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, Monday.
Bye.